Hello there, and then welcome to a brand new video. This is Hub Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. In this lesson, we are still on solving simultaneous equation. We've looked at how to use the elimination method, how to use the substitution method, and now we're on how to use graphs. So without much ado, let's quickly go into it. Now, in solving simultaneous equation using graphs, as you may have suggested, you need a graph sheet. Okay, and here are the steps involved. But we wouldn't read out the steps. Let's pick a question and then try solving it using the steps as we move along. So solving with this question here, it says solve the simultaneous equation using a graph. Now the whole idea of using a graph is actually trying to draw out your two equations, right? And most for this one per se, it is a straight line. So you want to represent these two lines on the graph. You see, if you get it on the graph, then we now look for the point of intersection of both, what do you call it, of both lines. So our first step is to rewrite each equation in the form y equals mx plus c. You know what that is? This is the equation of a straight line. You see, so for the first one, which is x plus y equals 6, we want to make y the subject. Making y the subject, it means we want y to stand on its own. So y equals, then we have our 6 here, then minus x. This is we making y the subject. But for equations of a line, the x should come before a constant. So y equals negative x, then plus 6. This here, if you understand your plane geometry well, you realize that this here is your y-intercept. You see, so this is your y-intercept, and this here, which is the negative one, is your gradient. So the gradient of this line is negative 1. You see. Now let's take the second one. Before that, let's name this our equation 1. Then for the second one, we have x minus y equals 2. We want to make y the subject. I'll choose to take y to the other side and bring the 2 here. So we have x minus 2 is equal to y. And this here is the same as y equals x minus 2. So for this equation 2, on the other hand, our intercept of y is negative 2, and it has a gradient of 1, you see. So this that we've done so far means that if you really want to use a graph to solve simultaneous equation, you should be well versed, or you should at least have a basic knowledge of plotting lines and then interpreting lines on the graph. Now that we've been able to do the first step, the second step says we should choose values of x and find the corresponding value of y. You see, so we'll take a range of values for x and y, after which we draw we plot out those points. Now, there are ways you can do it. Okay, so as I said earlier, if you are well versed in plane geometry, the easiest way to plot a line is knowing two extreme points. You see, one also could be that you know the y-intercept and you know the x-intercept. If you're able to locate that and get some extreme points, you can just quickly draw your line. But this here is this instruction here, which says you should choose values of x, usually about 4 to 5. It is quite simple. So let's go with this method here. So to get some values, I'm going to say let x be an element of 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. You see, so if x is 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8, then we start with the first equation. Okay, so for y, which is equal to negative x plus 6, that is equation 1. Then if x equals 1, our y will be equal to, so as the equation states, if x, no, we are starting from x being 0. So if x equals 0, then our y is equal to negative, you see, we are substituting 0 for each case. Negative 0 plus 6. And that is going to give you what? A 6. So we are doing for all. Okay. Now, if x equals 2, your y will be equal to, so you are putting negative 2 plus 6. You see? So negative 2 plus 6. And that is going to give you what? A 4. Then if x equals 4, you have your y, which is equal to negative 4 plus 6. And that also gives you a 2. If x equals 6, then you have your y, which is negative 6 plus 6. And that gives you a 0. And our last value, if x is equal to what? 8, then you have y, which is equal to your negative 8 plus 6. And that gives you a negative 2. So we have gotten a pair of values. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pair of values for x and y for our first equation. We do same for the second equation. So for the second equation, we say for y, which is equal to x minus 2, we start with the zeros. So for x equals 0, then our y will be equal to, you are putting 0 in place of x. So 0 minus 2. You see, we are doing all this just to be able to plot out our lines. If you have any faster way, you can also do that as well. So this gives us a negative 2. If x equals 2, then you are going to get y being equal to 2 minus 2. And 2 minus 2 gives you 0. If your x equals 4, then you are getting y being equal to 4 minus 2. And 4 minus 2 gives you a 2. If your x equals 6, then you have y equals 6 minus 2, which is what? A 4. And then finally, if our x equals 8, then you have y, which is equal to 8 minus 2, which also gives us a 6. You see? So now that we are done with this set of points, it now says we should draw a table for each equation with your x and y values. Okay, so let's come here and then draw a table. So in drawing my table, I'll just do this simple thing here. You see, all you need to do is take note of your points, right? So for the first one, I would have my set of points for the first equation. That is negative x plus 6. And for 0, if x equals 0, we have 6. So I put my 6 here. If x equals 2, we had a 4. If x equals 4, we had 2. If x equals 6, we had a 0. Then if x equals 8, we have a negative 2. Then that of x minus 2. So this is it over here. If x equals 0, we had negative 2. X equals 2 gives us 0. X equals 4 gives us a 2. Then x equals 6 gives us a 4. X equals 8 gives us a 6. So if you're able to get this table, you now come to your graph. Okay, so let me get my graph sheet here. Okay, so with my graph sheet over here, I'm going to plot out the point so that we can get the solution to our two equations. Starting with the first one, if x equals 0, y is 6. You see, so x equals 0. This is the point x equals 0. Then y being 6 will be here. So I'll take my point and then put that there. So this is it over here, my first point. Then we go to our next one. If x equals 2, y is 4. That is for the first set. If x equals 2, y is 4. So I'll come up here again, and then x equals 2, y is 4. This is my point. So I put that over there. Just a point will do. The next one, if x equals 4, y is 2. So x equals 4 and then y is 2. This is it over here. And then if x equals 6, y is 0. This is the point. Now if x equals 8, y is negative 2. So this is the point here as well. Now after you have all your points, you now draw your straight line through it. So I'm coming to draw my straight line, and I'll link from this point here down to this point here. Okay, so we are done with the first equation. For the second equation, we have if x equals 0, y is negative 2. So that point here. Then if x equals 2, y equals 0. So this is it over here. If x equals 4, y is 2. So 4, 2. We have that point here. And if x equals 6, y is 4. That point also here. And then if x equals 8, y is 6. So that is here. Now that we have our points, just as we did, we draw our line through. So at this point, you now look at where both lines intersect. The point where you have the intersection of both lines. Looking at it carefully, this is the point. So let me zoom in so you see that clearly. This here is the point where both lines intersect. So we then look for its x and y coordinate. So I'm tracing it down to this point, and I'll trace it down to this point as well. It simply means that at the point where both x and then y meet, we have what? X being 4 and y being 2. Let's go to our instructions and then see what we do with that point. It says, identify where the lines intersect. That point gives you the solution to the simultaneous equation. So it simply means that the solution to our simultaneous equation, which were given as x plus y equals 6, and then x minus y equals 2. These equations, the solution is then what? X equals 4, and then your y is equal to what? 2. That is the solution. And you can substitute them into the equation to confirm as well. So we have if x equals 4, using this over here, 4 plus 2 is equal to 6. That is correct. Now for this as well, if x equals 4 and y equals 2, we have 4 minus 2 giving you 2. Hence, our solution for our equations have been solved. So basically, if you want to use the method of graph to solve simultaneous equation, all you need to do is to draw out your equations on the graph and look for where they intersect. Get to the point of intersection, and that becomes your solution. As usual, I'll leave you with some questions here to try on your own. So here you have these three equations here, equation 1, or these three sets of equations, 1, 2, and then 3. You can graph them on your graph sheet, and then using the method we have considered here, get the solution. Let's have beyond numbers or we learn maths the easy way. If you have any issue of concern, you can always let me know at the comment section and I'll address that for you. See you in our next lesson, and bye for now.